Very good evening to all of you. Today we are going to be discussing the mock discussion of, we're going to be having mock discussion of verbal ability paper 30. Now, this mock was relatively nice, as in it was having good number of moderate questions, very little number of easy questions, especially when you come into the verbal ability side. Your para jumbles were a little easy, but the para summaries and yeah, especially para summaries were moderate to difficult level. So I hope that if you would have done the para summaries and known the meaning of the word, then it would have been very, very easy for you to go ahead with that para summary. In case you do not have the required vocab to decode that word over there, it is getting harder for you to solve that para summary. Now, coming to the passages part of it, as far as I see, passage one talked about management consultancies, and it was relatively an easier passage to go about with, relatively amongst the four passages. The toughest one definitely is the passage number 3. Then comes passage number 2, then 4, and then 1. 4 was a very, very simple passage, and 1 was a very simple passage. So overall, I would, I think passage 1 had 5 questions, out of which 4 could have been done. And passage 4 had 4 questions. All the 4 were simple enough. So 9 questions over here. And in the para summaries and para jumble part, in the VA part, as far as my analysis goes, um, 2 para jumbles were extremely easy. The odd man outs were doable, and 1 para summary was doable. So if you take off 3 questions from there, we have 5 correct, 5, 5, 10, 10, 4, 14, and 4 more. Yes. So 17 is a very good score. 17 corrects without any wrong is a very, very, positive score in this paper. It's extremely good score. In fact, if you get 17 corrects, that would put you somewhere about a 95 percentile mark is what I believe. 93 to 95 percentile mark is what I believe. Okay. But yes, anything above 17, I can be sure that you would be amongst the top in this paper. Now let's not discuss this further and go about into the questions. We can just go forward by passage. All right, I'm assuming that you have read this passage clearly. Yes, and I'm not giving you the summary of each paragraph like before, because you have done almost 12 mocks with utmost clear summary. So let's quicken this up. Let's try to discuss how the ideas have evolved through this passage. If you look at this passage very, very clearly, you can say that this passage is basically dealing with how management consultancies are using their skills to understand and solve the business problems. Yes, and these business problems are evolving on a daily basis. That is the first idea that you would be able to understand. The second idea is that there are many reputed organizations which are offering their employees incentives. Yes, such as pay rises and other things that he has mentioned in passage 2 and paragraph 2 and 3. Okay, wherein, sorry, paragraph 3 and 4. Yes, paragraph 3 and 4, like pay, promotions, sabbaticals, pay rises, and all. They're given as incentives. And why are companies giving these incentives? Out of hope that it would foster thought and creativity, right? And some are also trying to build their own space or collaborate with other institutions and business schools. Yes. Now, at the outset of it, there's a strong realization that intellectual leadership needs a precursor of strong management skills. That means management skills are essential for intellectual leadership. Okay. And these consultancies, management consultancies and business consultancies which are present, they do not have extremely strong management skills. That's what he is trying to tell towards the end of this passage. Okay, so I hope this passage now clear to you. Okay, what the passage talking about overall. Let's quickly go into the questions. The author of this passage is least likely to agree with which of the following statement? Booz Allen and Gemini are giants in the field of management consultants. Actually, not, because he's put forward that idea inside the passage in itself, right? And if we go forward and look at B, management consultancy is booming business these days because of immense scope. Again, the author is going to agree with it. He's not going to be disagreeing. So it's not the least likely thing that he would agree with. Business owners are quite invested in finding out ways to defeat their competitors. Again, that's also been told in the passage, right? Where he tries to tell that, I think it's somewhere over here. If I can just clearly mark it, always looking for ways to beating the competition, right? So these are all three things that have been given in the passage. Yes, and as the points which the author would agree to. D is the only one that the author might not completely agree with. Practical knowledge and experience have become the key to management. This is something that the author might not really agree with, because thought leadership and creativity are major in his view. Right. The second question, when we are looking at, sorry, yeah. So second question that we are looking at, according to the author, in which of following ways do ideas provide competitive advantage to organizations? Yes. So again, when the author talked about how ideas are being, used as an advantage, he has not talked about them in terms of a positive sense for the enterprise, right? Basically, what were ideas? Ideas are helping people keep the employees that they have gotten. Okay, they are not trying to bring in. How do I say? They're not basically trying to make a positive sense, or they're not trying to make more ideas out of a new idea. This idea is used in a way that it is going to keep the employees within the organization, okay, and to expand that organization further. Okay, so the option that sticks most with what we have seen in the passage is C. All right. Yes. Now the third question, according to the author, the threat to the concept of thought leadership. Now, what is the threat to the concept of thought leadership? Now, if we look at the passage, we can clearly understand that thought leadership is basically about how much resources are flowing in. Are we giving them spaces? Are we able to provide them with the necessary resources? That is about the thought leadership which he has mentioned. Right. Let me just point it out to you where exactly it is there. Yes. Here. No wonder that the brains are at premium, and no wonder consultants are excited by what they call thought leadership, right? Now, what are these thought leaderships for? They are for resolving any business problem, and this thought leadership are alternative ways of seeing the world. That's what we can get from this part of our passage. Yes. And for the previous question, I think here he's given clearly ideas are useful for attracting and keeping clever recruits. But okay, anyways, let's not go to the previous part. So here, if we are looking at this particular part, we can see that thought leadership is an essential, okay, for us to be able to, how do I say it? So give me one moment. I'll put this into better words for you. Yes. So the better words that I could use for this is very simple like this. Think about it this way. Uh, for thought leadership to exist, okay, we need brains working to churn out the ideas and resources like spaces or schools or incentives or whatever, right? Now, if we are looking at these particular options, the concepts itself is transient in nature and less practical than other concrete approaches. See, we have not really discussed a lot of other approaches. He's told how can we improve our, employee turnover and all, but he's not really talked about thought leadership in other approaches. It requires, so A is eliminated. It requires continuous change on the part of the market also. Now, we've not really seen how market needs to change. We've only seen how an organization is promoting. So definitely I can take B. In the absence of patronization, it may lose steam. Patronization is what? Insulting, right? So I don't see why this at all comes in this passage. So this completely out of scope. So we can eliminate it. D is the only one that makes sense. That we need certain resources for our brains to function and get out the thought leadership. Okay, or pioneering thoughts, whatever you want to call them. Okay, without those resources, we may not be able to finish our work. So D makes more sense. The next one is, which one of the following describes an approach of the consultancies to build an intellectual base? Yes, I think this is again given very clearly over here, no? Yes, to be more intellectual demanding varied. The joint, wait, where is it? I think somewhere I've seen that they try to build up, more space, and they get collaboration with other business schools and all that. I'm not sure where exactly that part is. Here, the consultancy's second line of approach is to form an alliance with business schools and business thinkers. Right. So according to that, I think, yeah, A should be a right answer. Okay. Yes. And what about this last part? Thought leadership is not an easy job. As indicated in the passage, the following can be the best reason for this. So basically, he's asking us, why is thought leadership not an easy job? As in, what makes it hard? Okay. Now, A says many consultants do not buy the concept of thought leadership. No, a lot of consultants are buying it. In fact, a lot of people are even collaborating with others and all. Groundbreaking ideas, once preempted, imitated, or adapted, may not last long to milk the market. Yes, this is something that's been already spoken about in the passage. That once an idea comes, okay, and if we are not able to capture it, yes, we won't be able to sustain it in the product. I think it's given in the last but one paragraph about the market cooling down with the product and all. Okay, so according to that, B should be a right answer. Okay, yes, yeah. Now passage 2. Again, this passage is a bit based on philosophy and literature. Basically, although the passage is not talking about something extreme, yeah, it's just saying in a very simple way, it's talking about how communication is important. Okay, that communication is the cornerstone of all the human experiences and human relationships, right? And although one needs to how do I say, one needs to have an out of the body experience to create a proper narrative about things. The way we communicate with each other, it makes us feel connected to one another, and it also educates us, right? So communication is basically an essential tool to express our ideas and educate ourselves about various topics. That's basically what he is trying to say. Okay. Now, according to the first question, according to the passage, how does communication become the base of community formation? Yes. So how does the communication become the base of community formation? Now, according to the passage, what's he trying to say? Hey, people with homogeneous views form a society. What does that mean? People who have similar views, will they start forming a society? But that's not really what he's told in the passage, correct? What he's told that although there are different views and all, once we are trying to communicate with each other so that a common Not a common, but we are able to get work out of each other. Okay. Yes, if we are able to get work out of each other, then it's creating a better society. Then it's creating a homogeneous society. Yes. So according to this, in B, only by living in close vicinity is proximity, are ideas shared by people. No, we've also talked about, the books and all, how communication has changed amply, right? So B is definitely not the right answer. What about C? Interaction initiates intimacy and hence formation of community. Although this sounds correct, okay, although this sounds correct, we are not entirely talking about, only interaction. We're talking about how people are able to understand each other's problem based on their experiences also. Yes. So I think D should be the right answer, where in a homogeneous society is raised when people understand and cater to interest of each other by mutual interaction. That means not only am I communicating, but you are also communicating with me, and we are doing it out of a communication of mutual interest. Okay, I think this is also been mentioned in the second paragraph, if I'm not wrong, towards this part. Yes, so D should be a answer. Okay. Yeah, the author mentions that within even the most social groups, there are many relations that are not as yet social. Yes, no, this is just a very simple question. This is not definitely not the emotional aspect or the sociological aspect. It's the mechanical aspect, right? That means you're just talking because you have to talk. It's not because you want to get in touch with them or you would like to know about them. There's no emotional reaction to this, just a mechanical reaction, right? So your correct answer will be A. Now the third question, which are the following statements best describes the way in which communication is an art. Okay. A, it bestows on us the tact to deal with public aspirations. It initiates the use of ornamental language in verbal interface. Okay, that is not true. Nowhere has he spoken about, ornamental language and anything. We can narrate creatively and diligently our own version of thought. Yes, that makes sense. So C is the right answer. Yes. Now, what about the next question? None of the following describes the moment when teaching becomes a social experience, except. So, when teaching involves a two-way communication of ideas, when students are able to simplify and assimilate concepts communicated by their teachers. So, none of the following describes the moment teaching becomes a social experience. So, basically, when he's asking when does it become a social experience? So when teachers instruct the students in a way that they understand what's experienced by. So if you can see clearly, all these three are nothing but the personal experiences, right? Here is the only thing that's enriching something of someone else, which is the social side of it. Correct? So D should be your right answer because that's the only option that's talking about the social side of communication, right? Sorry, my bad. It's not talking about the social side of communication. Am I correct with this? Because when teaching involves a two-way communication of ideas, it's personal amongst the two people, right? When students are able to simplify and assimilate the concepts communicated by their teachers. Okay, let's just go back to this particular passage and see this because I think the answer should be A, because that's the only personal thing. Because this also we can take as social. This is also social. When the teachers instruct the students in a way that they understand what is expected of them. And this is personal. and this is personal. Okay. So out of these two options, we'll have to choose one option out of A and C. Okay, let's just go back to the passage and see. Not only is social life identical with communication, but all communication, okay, to be educative, have an enlarged and changed experience. One shares in what the other has felt. Okay. Hmm. Okay. So now if we just look at this part of it about the social form of communication till this part. Okay. They say that not only is social life identical with communication, but also all communication is educative. To be a recipient of communication is to have an enlarged and changed experience. Okay. Which to have an enlarged and changed experience. So I think that that part is my D option, right? So this clearly is a social experience. Yes, one shares in what the other has thought and felt in so meagerly or amply has his own attitude modified, nor is the one who communicates left unaffected. Try the experiment of communicating with fullness of accuracy, some experience to another, especially if it is somewhat complicated. You will find your own attitude towards your experience changing. This experience has to be formulated in order to be communicated. The formulation requires getting outside and seeing it as others would. Okay. So when teaching becomes social experience, except now, I think this is the only place where it is a social experience. So to me, I think the question should not have had this except if it's with this options, then the answer would have been D. Because as seen before, these three are personal experiences between the teacher and the student, the communicator and the communicatee. But D is the only social experience that I'm able to find. Right. Okay, so let's go to the passage 3. Now again, passage 3 was the toughest of all. It was talking about how the beauty and form is there. But let me just try and tell you this passage in a normal manner. Okay. So if we are looking at it very simply, the form, that means the shape that an art piece is taking. Okay, just like a cloth, a textile, or anything. Yeah, the shape that an art piece is taking is of very wide importance. Okay, it's very important for us to know the shape of it. Why? In order to understand the function of it. Okay, so although form is a component that kind of enables functionality, we can somehow you know ease that form to make it look appealing as well, to make it aesthetic as well. Okay. So forms can be viewed differently by different people. When I'm talking about forms, I'm talking about the shapes, right? But the functionality of it should remain. Now you can add changes to a form, okay, normally without disturbing its functionality. But if you are going ahead and you're trying to change the form in a way that it's affecting its functionality, then you are somewhat abnormal where you are prioritizing the beauty over functionality. Okay, are we clear with this? Right. So according to the passage, the following attributes enhance the prestige of textile art. I think obviously it is form, which has wavidness, elegance, style, and congruence. It's given directly in the passage, right? So C will be our correct answer. When we are looking at which one of the following statements best describes how art is dominated by sensibility. Okay, So A says, unlike past tense, functional attributes of an art are found in ramshackle position. Okay, creativity, irrespective of functional attribute, is immensely inclined towards outward experience. Yes. So in terms of sensibility, it's basically how it feels to you, how you can sense it, right? So that's more to do with the outward experience. True. Emphasis on fanciful display of commodity. No. See, functionality is there, but apart from functionality, we also want creativity. The usefulness is dominated by deceit. No, again, we're not saying we're not being deceitful. We are not saying that this won't work. Okay, we need functionality, but apart from functionality, we need something else also. Okay, so I think B will be our correct answer to this. Which one of the following best describes the central idea of the passage? Well, yes. Now, if we look at the entire passage on the whole, we can see that, initially people only cared about form in terms of how your art would function. So let us say that, you have a mouse like this, right? So initially people cared only about whether there is a ball that's down, a roller, is it working or not? Now, if you look at market, you would get all these one-handed mouses. In fact, I think Samsung also put on a mouse which runs away from there if you're working too much. So now what is happening is that the functional attribute, the value in a functional attribute is going down. Okay, just so that a lot of convenience comes up. Okay, and that's what's been shown over here throughout the passage. That sometimes you might even apply these things to an error. To an error, as in you might change the design so much that it does not do the work that it's supposed to do anymore. Okay, so the right answer would be B, decline of functional values in useful art. All right. Now, if you're going to this question, which of the following best states why the author considers textile products more pliable than other works of art? Now, obviously, if you're looking at textile products, okay, they are not going to be bought until you see them in a particular way. If I'm being very honest with you, I can tell it in this particular manner. Okay, I won't be able to. Okay, give me one moment. I'll think of how best to explain this. Yeah. So think of it this way. When you are looking at what is that thing called, a bed sheet or something, do you ever open it completely and check, or do you just see what's on the top of it and you buy it? Versus when you're looking at a phone. If you look at phone companies and all, they would tell you about how much is the bezel, how much is the curve, all that. Correct? Why? Because that appeals to your senses more. Yes, a particular form. If that bezel is gone, everything looks good now. Okay, I think 3 years back that bezel feature was removed from OnePlus phones. And it grew a lot. So if I'm asking you the same question, compare textiles with maybe a laptop like MacBook or like a phone or something. The sensibility in terms of phone and all will be more. That form needs to be very aesthetic for you to look at if you want to buy it. Whereas textiles are not like that. It's the same shape, different varieties are there. You can put anything onto it, the form doesn't change, right? So over here, due to the inherent nature, shapes of the product can undergo easy change. Well, that's not entirely true. Okay, as seen in number of such forms, they're more functional than artistic. Well, although that is correct, okay, but that does not make it more pliable. Okay, as seen in number of such forms, they are more artistic than functional. Okay, again, just for the design, you won't buy something that's there. Okay, unless presented in a particular form, their appeal to the senses is lessened. Yes. So think about it again, the same example that I've given you. Okay, bed sheets and all, you see them in a particular manner on display. You need a what do you say, a mannequin to wear your dress and display it to you. Then you would say, okay, I look like this. If I just show you the dress ka piece folded, maybe you won't know it completely. The same way, bed sheet or something like a net or something. Now, for that, you don't need a mannequin to wear that net or that bed sheet. You don't need that bed sheet to be put onto a bed. If I can just show you in a particular, small shape that's on it, you can understand how the bed sheet would look. So unless textiles are, presented in a particular form, it won't really appeal to your senses. So I would go with D as my answer. Yes. According to the author, textile products, when compared to the products in other useful arts, yes, what happens to them? Go further in amplifying their utility, appeal to the aesthetic sense only when they are amenable to taking forms of that function. Yes, true. So just like I told you in the previous example, for a net and all, you're not looking at how cute, how beautiful that is. But when you are trying to buy a t-shirt or a crop top, you're definitely looking at how cute and how beautiful it is, right? So see, what does it say? Appeal to the. So I think this will be okay, but see, appeal to the aesthetic sense more than products in other arts due to symmetry, material, and models used. Oh, yeah, okay. So this also is a contender. Good. Are not impressive in aesthetic values as they are mainly functional. Okay. So D can be taken out and A can be taken out. Amongst B and C, we'll have to look at which is a better option. So if you are looking at the first paragraph towards the ending, yes. So they are talking about uh, elegance, symmetry, the more rigid objects, put that. Okay. So now C is not our answer because this is usually put forward by rigid objects, not textiles. So B will be our correct answer. Yes? Okay. Now, this by far I found to be the easiest of the passages. Again, I would tell you that is because of familiarity. Okay. I have a background in science, so I'm very familiar with these concepts, and hence I find it extremely easy. Okay. Someone who's coming from a commerce or arts background might find it a little challenging to understand these terms. That is where your jargon should be more inclined towards scientific passages. Okay. So what does this passage even talk about? This passage basically says that the growing world of gadgets uh, has kind of increased digitization. Yes, and we are very dependent on the interconnectivity nowadays. Yes, we want to control uh, a lot of devices using our own device, like one device, and this is done by the technology called as IoT or Internet of Things. Yeah. Now, obviously, we can't put a balance on the power and efficiency, or what did he use? Power and energy. Yes, power and energy of these wireless transmissions. But we can come up with a whole new, method of quantifying it and call it as the mean. What is it over there? I think somewhere in the last but one paragraph he's talked about it like this. The mean what? Yeah, it can be called as a mean conversion efficiency. Okay, so that we can find some kind of rectifier designs and all more easily. Okay, are we clear? Yeah. So this is a very, very factual passage. In fact, not factual, it's descriptive passage. Yes, the first question is, uh, why does the author consider it would be impossible to imagine digital world even in the late 20th century? Just one moment. Yeah. So thank you. Yeah, I was discussing this question. So why does the author consider that it would be impossible? It would have been impossible to imagine a digital world even in the late 20th century. Now, one reason that the author is saying this, and this comes from this part, right? Yes. Now, this is because IoT was not there back then, right? So it was very difficult to understand how, normal technology and internet would come together. Now, out of all these, I'm sure you are all tempted to put B. But please understand that this is a fact which has been presented here. Yes, he's asking you for an inference. And the inference of this fact is this. Okay, so your answer should be C and not B. Yes. Now, what about this? Each of the following statements can be inferred in the context of the passage, except in the past few decades, there's been significant progress. Yes, I can infer this definitely. The devices which were a part of IoT network have some of the most efficient rectifiers in their antennas. So far, I'm just inclined to say no, because we don't know if they are the most efficient. It's an extreme answer to me. There's an increasing tendency to inculcate technology device in every aspect of one's environment. Yes, this can be true because of IoT. Some device must be connected to the power to enable wireless transmission. Yes, again, this is also given. So B will be our answer. What about this? Which of the following is the reason why Dominic Myers designs show overall superior performance as compared to traditional designs? Now, obviously, he's told, no, he's able to get this mean conversion efficiency, and which is giving optimum rectifier circuit design, right? So very clearly, B. It's a specific detailed question which is coming from here. Yes. Now, D. Why does the author state that the rectifier should work as efficiently as possible to improve remote powering technology? Until the rectifiers function efficiently, they'll not be able to connect to remote device. Okay. Only when the rectifiers are most efficient, they will be able to generate power. Oh, okay. Rectifiers must work most efficiently. Here, okay. See, I'm not going to go into details, but I'm pretty sure you all understand why these two are extreme answers. Right? So I'm going to take them both off. A does not seem correct to me, because until the rectifiers function efficiently, they'll not be able to connect to the other remote device under IoT. So I don't somehow see this a lot. The devices are of negligible use if they're, yes, now this I see. So here also he says they cannot connect at all. And that's not something that's been told. No, he's saying that there'll be a lot of loss. So I think D will be a correct answer. Okay, right. Yeah. So now we can go into odd man out. Correct. Yes. Now in this odd man out, very clearly, if we look at this, we can see that the four sentences which are together are one in this order: 1, 5, 4, and 2. Okay. So it starts with someone saying, just wait until you become a mom. Okay. So this woman goes forward and says, indeed, midway. Just give me one moment. Yes. Yeah. So in fifth one, it says, indeed, midway through my pregnancy, I shared several in a family, quitting work to become the primary caretaker of the young son was far from ideal. That means it was not the correct thing to do. Okay. And critics thought it was premature for me to have and voice opinions about stay-at-home parenting before becoming a mother. Yes. So that time she was being told that you're not a mother yet. Fast forward to today, I am a mother. So I could see clear concomitance in these two and these two. And obviously, this is the most generic statement. So 1, 5, 4, 2 will be the order. And by that approach, 3 should be your answer. Yeah. Now, this is one para summary that I'm not expecting you to solve. Okay, because it's a little how do I put it? It's a little twisted, to be very honest. Okay. Now here I was telling you, right, that if you knew the meanings of the words, it's easy. So here, if you see this word en passant means by the way. Okay. So I know a lot of you must have seen that word and left the para summary, but don't do that. Just try to understand what there. It's fine. I mean, if you don't answer this, I'm okay with it, but at least try it out. So basically, what does this mean? This means that although you want to know something, try to observe the phenomena. But if it does not, happen, you should not superficially or for some ulterior purpose try to find it out. Okay, that means you want to know something, but you can know about these things either by observation or by doing stuff. You can't superficially assume things. Okay, or maybe have some kind of an ulterior motive and go beyond what is your resources. నీకు ఇంత కెపాసిటీ ఉందో అంత కెపాసిటీ తెలుసుకోవాలి. దాన్ని పైకి కిందకి వెళ్ళిపోయి తెలుసుకుందాం అనుకుంటూ ఉంటే అవ్వకూడదు అనేమో చాడు చెప్తున్నాడు, రైట్? సో basically what is this group theory is this is the orbit of Helvelius study. That means it is basically Helvelius theory. Orbit అంటే nothing but the circle, the influence, the range of influence. Okay, so Helvelius approached his subject of study with caution so as to appear sane and compliant with the compliant with the church. Well, not really. It was not specifically for the church that he's done. Yes, church was censoring people, okay, and he did not want to irritate those censors, but he did not do this so that he can be compliant with the church. Outlandish ideas never found favor with Helvelius as they tended to offend the church. Again, very partial scope. Helvelius' approach can be best termed practical, as he disapproved of fanciful notions in the process of inquiry. Yes, true. This can be, great, but again, it's not exactly that he disapproved of fanciful notions. He just said that don't go over and beyond. Okay, it's not just fanciful. He said, stay here. This is your limit. Stay here. Okay. So Helvelius theory professed a guarded inquisitiveness school, okay, that betrayed the unbridled. Again, unbridled means unrestricted. Okay, spirit of inquiry. So do not go above and beyond. Okay, restrict yourself and find out. So D should be your correct answer. Okay, all right. Now, again, this is a easier para summary. What's this saying? This is saying that how do I say? Dreams do not have like a particular meaning. Okay, they're just an activity of the mind that's performed when you are in sleep. Okay, because you're getting into a very unsatisfactory state, or you're getting into a very reduced anxiety state. Your mind is churning out a dream. So when we search about dreams, we can also understand how the underlying mental problems are. When we are trying to study and understand the dream, we can also understand the underlying mental problems. Yes, so that explanation clearly comes out in D. Okay, so D will be your answer, right? Now, I think this is again a very sweet little para jumble, wherein clearly in the third sentence he's talking about how green her eyeballs were, and he's comparing this. So naturally 3 and 1 are concomitant sentences. Now amongst 4 and 2, if you see, I saw 2, how small her hands were. So I don't know about 4 and 2, but 1 and 4 are concomitant sentences. Okay, so naturally either 2 can come here or 2 can come here, but if I'm putting 2 over here, her comes before. Her is a demonstrative over here. So I should rather tell about who it is and then say her. Here it tells me about gender and how she was and what she was doing. And then I can go forward and continue the description. So 2 won't come in the front, it would come in the end. So the right answer will be 3, 1, 4, 2. Okay. Now here again, the most generic statement of all of this is 2. This is the most generic statement. Yes. And if you look at it, the approach we can look for is the sequence wise approach. If I'm looking at the sequence wise approach, I should first talk about personal, family, and then social, right? Now, clearly this statement talks about my personal disorganization. So I can say that 2 and 1 are concomitant. Yes. Now, amongst 4 and 3, if you can see clearly, here he says that are undoubtedly recruited from boys with history of earlier delinquencies. But there has been an increase in number of daring criminals with decrease in work opportunities. So this talks about, why there are increase in criminals. Okay. And this talks about how the decrease in work opportunity is leading into the other things. Okay. So naturally, I think 3 and 4 are concomitant, which should go along with 1. So 2, 1, 3, 4 should be your order. Clear? Now, amongst these 5, if we are looking at it, the parajumble order that I would make is 4, which says that I interviewed more than 100 millionaires who came from all walks of life and made their first million in dozens of different ways, starting from their own business to investing in stock market and real estate. Yes, many people believe that while it will certainly be nice, they'll never become millionaires. Okay, so you can go from 4, 3, 2, and 5. Okay. In fact, I've also was looking at an alternate to this, parajumble, and I was, in fact, yeah, let's actually cancel this. I'd actually go with my second answer, which I kind of have more belief in. It starts with 4, but it goes to 5, then 3 and 2. Okay, this makes more sense to me. Yeah. So I interviewed more than 100 millionaires. The truth is, hitting the 1 million mark is more important now. Okay. Many people believe that, though it will be certainly nice, they can never become millionaires. And others hit the mark by simply saving. So 4, 5, 3, 2 would be the right answer. And 1 should be your odd man out. Okay. Now, if we move forward in this next question, we can clearly see that it is talking about laboratory studies on animals, what kind of studies and all. So clearly 4 is the most generic statement that I can see. Yes. And after 4, I can see that, why is it cruel? So the reason why it's cruel comes in 1. So 4 and 1 are concomitant. Then we are talking about what type of animals and then what techniques. Right? So your answer should be 4, 1, 3, 2. Cool? Yes. Now, as far as the last question is concerned, if you look at this particular passage, this passage is talking about what are the differences between a layman and a novelist. Okay. Now, what differences did he state? First thing is that you might not, have the right way to talk about your childhood, talk about your past, talk about everything, chronologize it and put it down. So you might not have that right skill. Okay. And is there anything else that they have talked about? They might not have the choice to devote time to penning down their lives. Okay. So again, now people, you might think that devote time to penning down their life. This might mean that they don't have time to write. Okay. But they don't have the skill to actually sit down and write is what this means. Okay. So according to that, I can say that novelists win fame every is maybe less enchanting than one common man's life. Again, this is out of scope for us. A novelist distinct from common man, as the former is advantage with more. See, this is what I was saying. It's not only about more time. It's about you having the skill to make time and write. So B is an opposite answer. C is the correct answer. And D, man's life is a narrative of enchanting image. Again, this is a partial scope choice, right? So our correct answer will be answer 3. All right, so I think these are all the questions that we've had in this mock. Uh, Thank you for your patient listening. Have a good day.